Hello, fellow fantasy sports junkies. Welcome to MFSN's The Hub. I'm your host, Joe Booze Rum. With me, as always, is Vlad to the Bone. This time with Fantasy Pros expert Andrew Seifter, and as always, Ross the Boss.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and I want to talk fantasy sports with you, cowboy. And you know what time it is? It's time for First and 10.
Okay, guys. On First and 10 today, we're going to talk about your fantasy football routine. Throughout the week, I want to hear all the things you do to prepare, get ready for things. How do you handle this, this grueling week that I am always lying on the floor at the end of?
Well, I think there's a common misperception that football is really a once-a-week thing. It's, for those of us who live and breathe this stuff, it's every day of the week. There's something to be doing. And I think the logical place to start is with the games themselves, right? So for me, what I'm doing is I am standing really about 3 feet away from my TV. I got my Sunday ticket on DirecTV with 8 games going. It's the Game Mix 2, 8 games going at the same time, and that's why I have to be that close to see every single play happening in the 1 o'clock Eastern games and watch right through the 4 p.m. games.
Wait, why does it help to be that close?
Well, because if you're watching 8 games on your screen TV, unless your TV is like 120 inches wide, you're gonna miss stuff if you're sitting way back on your couch.
You want a big screen TV?
I'd like to watch it in a movie theater, honestly. But anyway, that's beside the point. So that's Sunday, and then one thing we have to keep in mind now is the schedule is all crazy with the coronavirus stuff. We got Tuesday night games now, so lots of things are getting switched around. I just got an email from Yahoo saying waivers aren't processing till Thursdays this week.
Thursday, that's right.
So our schedules are going crazy. But in a normal week, it's the games on Sunday. The Monday night game, and then Tuesday is all about figuring out those waiver claims. And for me, I'm constantly just digesting news information, whether it's my colleagues at Fantasy Pros with their news blurbs, or Roto World, or Roto Wire, Twitter, Reddit, all that.
If it's all week, I'm interested in what you guys all have to say about it. But if it's all week round, what do you consider the beginning of the week then?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I think it starts after I think my fantasy week starts after the games have completed, or at least after the Sunday games have completed, because Monday is usually 24 hours of either intense self-deprecation for how poorly I chose the weekend before, or some level of cautious optimism that I might win depending on what happens Monday night, although always then filled with self-doubt that Monday night is going to go poorly. So I think it starts on Monday. And then it's Tuesday, Wednesday, looking at who got hurt, looking at who underperformed and overperformed, looking at the rankings on a lot of the sites that Andrew mentioned, and trying to optimize your lineup while still filled with the self-doubt that you're going to do it poorly.
Keep in mind the snap counts, too. That's information that comes out a day or two after the games. You start to learn more than you just see in the box score.
Okay, I'm in Los Angeles, so my week starts Sunday at 10 a.m. That's when the new week starts. So I watched Red Zone, 7 hours, no commercials. That's the best. It's like watching you don't miss anything. Watching 8 games on a TV you have a black and white TV, you said, with like 19 inches. It's impossible to watch a TV like that. You got to watch Red Zone. Invest the money, have Red Zone.
No. I got Sunday ticket, man.
Sunday ticket's a joke. You got to have Red Zone. Man. There's commercials. This is commercial free. You see all the great stuff. So you're looking at players that are making unbelievable plays. You're scouting for next week. That's what Ross the Boss does. I'm looking at Jeff Smith of the Jets. I'm looking at Chase Claypool of Steelers. I'm scouting.
You're only seeing them when they make a good play. You're not seeing when their passes they're dropping.
I'm seeing what's going on. I'm on my computer. I'm wheeling and dealing. I'm making trades. I'm doing this. Monday for me is a big day because we do our waiver wire show. Our waiver wire show enlightens me. It gives me different people's opinions. Andrew, thank you. Dan, thank you. And I get to learn about some people I would never know about unless I had you two guys to talk about it. So that helps Ross the Boss. And then
it alters my week because
it alters my week. And then Monday night after I get done with you guys, I'll put my waiver claims in, making sure no one's injured. I'll put the waiver claims in. I always look at injury reports. Ross the Boss is on top of that. And then I put my waiver things in there. And then because of COVID, I'm always making sure there's no new COVID cases, always making sure through the week. And then we got the first Thursday game. We got to make sure we get our do our lineups, at least for Thursday's game. We put it in there. And I usually, if I have a player that's even on my bench, I'll start him Thursday just because I love watching my players play on national television. And that goes for Monday night and Sunday night. I'll use those players. So again, I'll do that. And then when it comes Sunday morning, I'm watching Fantasy Football Live. It comes on 2 hours before kickoff. It comes on at 8 o'clock my time. Ross the boss is up early. He has breakfast going. He has eggs. He has bagels. He has French toast. He has everything going here. It's unbelievable here. You guys should be here. But
does this help you win?
That being said, Fantasy Football Live has the actives, non-actives. It keeps you up. It tells you about games that are canceled, like it was this Sunday. The Patriots game canceled like that morning, so you're scrambling
it's actually
around.
True.
You're picking people up.
I used to argue.
There's no argument here. You don't argue with Ross the boss. We may disagree. There's no argument.
No. I used to argue. This is before I knew you. Anyways, what I used to argue was that, like Andrew said, that fantasy football was just a once a week thing. I did not realize it's extremely nuanced what you got to do at various points. In fact, I remember playing leagues with Andrew and Kasey, actually, because we were in leagues together going way back. But Andrew and I would wake up at like 4 a.m. to see who
that used to drive me crazy.
Didn't get
That's
claimed
lunacy.
in waivers.
4 a.m. back east
Just to get the
Yeah,
waivers.
Don't do that to
But
yourself.
it wasn't a waiver.
Don't do that to
budget.
yourself
That's
or to the people you
ludicrous.
play with. No, it makes other people do it. We kind of agreed
thankfully,
not
that's
to do
not
it.
really. I don't think that's a very common
that's
system
stupidity.
anymore. But
I
what
mean,
used to
so-
be no, Ross. It used to be the system was the common thing where
Waiver
it was a
order.
waiver priority. So you either have to use your number one claim or you have to beat everyone to the punch the next morning when everyone goes on free agency. So, Dan and I would get so competitive about that. We'd want to save that waiver claim. So it would be who's getting up at 4 a.m. And we'd always, we would always blame it on like our children
Andrew and Dan,
woke
let's
us
be
up.
honest.
It wasn't that we just did it to get the player.
You
it was
had
that our
one-
kid
It
woke
wasn't
us
that
up,
we
right?
set an alarm. We didn't
Yeah,
set
right.
an alarm.
Hadn't gone to
No,
bed
that
yet.
never happened.
Yeah.
It's totally Now, Ross, you also talked about weather. You factor in weather.
I do, and then, again on fantasy on ESPN 1 and ESPN 2. I don't know why I said it 1, but on ESPN they give
How about the
they give
Ocho?
reports-
ESPN one.
They give reports from different stadiums and they show weather. They show if it's snowing in Green Bay. They show how the weather in Chicago is. They show Miami. Even Miami, we think it's all warm and nice. It's not. It gets horrible storms, especially in November. That being said, the weather is a big variable with your fantasy team, and you got to set your lineup according to weather a lot. There's a huge difference. Of course, with dome stadiums, it doesn't matter. We all know that. But what I'm saying is,
you're talking about like, is it going to be a passing game? Is it going to be a running game? Depending on the weather, right?
yeah, I mean, if it's a blizzard out there, you know how hard it is to throw a football 40 yards in the snow with
Or
the
if
wind
it's
blowing
super
against
windy.
you.
Yeah.
I mean, Ross the boss can do
I'm
it.
very
but
good at it, but
I doubt Drew Brees can do it anymore. Drew Brees can't even throw 20 yards anymore.
The wind
between
is
you and
really
I.
the key. I think that some people have looked at this, and that's a much bigger factor than like rain or snow.
Rain or
It's
snow,
just the
yeah.
wind.
that's a good point. Win. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys about my routine. My routine.
I can't wait to hear
yours
this. Just
involve
so you
the
know, I
same
want to hear this
self-doubt
routine.
as mine?
So what day does the
Oh
week
my
start
God.
for you?
Dan and I are the
it's
mental
not
health
really when
guys.
the week
so
starts. It's when the season starts.
Okay.
The whole season starts and the misery begins. Okay? So I love fantasy football. And I say this all the time. I love fantasy football. I love it on game day until about 3 o'clock. And then I'm like, something doesn't feel right. It's like a bad dream. You're starting off, you're like, oh, this is going to be fun. Wait, what? What?
Well, people get that
It's been a
feeling
whole
on
half
Sunday
and I have no
afternoon
points.
anyway, right?
And listen, I'm so superstitious about this stuff, but now I just know I'm going to lose a lot of the time. So I'm not even superstitious. So it starts, I put my waiver claims in and it's like hope springs eternal. I'm like, I just got D'Ernest Johnson for $62 and it's wonderful. And if it's going to be horrible, and of course it's going to be, but then I get to Thursday, and the Thursday game is usually, I don't have anybody going, but the guy who's playing me has one guy and he blows up for like 33 points. And I'm like, well, great. I'm already in a hole. But then I'm like, you know what? It's not over. You never know what's going to happen. So then I slog through the next couple days. We get to Sunday, and I'm like, oh, I know this. I know I can come back now. And we start going, and then I really enjoy it until about 3 o'clock. Then it starts to crater. And then somewhere in there's like a little bit of hope. And then I try to make some kind of adjustments, sit in my chair right. Don't do this at home. Really, I mean, I think that there's some way that I'm going to try to win by doing these things, but really, They say that I have no control over this, but clearly I do. I grew up a Cleveland fan. I believe that I have control of it. And in truth, there are other things to my routine, but that's what it feels like. I'm a psychologist. I'm going to tell you.
So basically, your routine is sitting in chairs and staring at the TV. You didn't tell us anything what you do or what your back. Do you watch anything? Do you listen to anything?
No,
do you do anything that's proactive?
No,
what do you do? What do you do to make your life better?
All right.
This is you sit around and watch TV. I mean, what? This is nothing.
No, I don't watch TV. But actually,
you move your chair around.
You gotta
and you
check
pick your toes.
No. You gotta check. You gotta check Roto World. You gotta all these sites.
So you like Roto World?
You
like Roto World? You go on.
Hey, make sure to actually click through the links and read the actual article sometimes too, because these people are all humans. So you get it.
Fantasy Pros has some good people. Yep.
Fantasy Pros is okay. Let's don't go crazy.
No, in all seriousness, one of the things that I do that really does make a difference. You got to watch the games. How do
you watch the games? You watch them on Ticket? Do you watch them on, like I do, on Red Zone?
Red Zone.
What do you do?
I love Red Zone.
Here's the thing, though. Red Zone is making the choice for you about what they show you. When you're watching all the games at the same time, you can move your eyes around and watch whatever you want to watch.
They have Octobox.
You have Red Zone eyes.
I got Octobox going the whole time.
I love Scott Hansen. I think Scott Hansen for Red Zone is unbelievable. He's the best host I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to know who to trust also. You don't want to be rushing around and going with the wrong sources. So, you want to listen to MFSN, the Hub, Waiver Wire. You want to listen to MFSN, the Hub, the main show, and then you should be fine. Now, listen, guys, we are about to transition into a great interview with Matt Iseman from American Ninja Warrior. The guy has so much energy. I cannot wait to talk to him.
American Ninja Warrior. That's how Matt says it on the show. If you guys don't watch it, it's great. Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and we have a great interview today. We have the co-host of American Ninja Warrior, Matt Iseman's on the show today. Matt, welcome.
Boss Ross, that was an awesome impression. You made me sound like a constipated Muppet. I like it.
Can do it for me real quick. How you say it on the show.
Warrior. Welcome to American Ninja Warrior.
That's what I wanted.
I will tell you that I just did voiceover. We were just voicing our final episode of the season. That actually you almost got me to answer. That's actually the whole thing about me saying the name of the show came about as a joke. As I was tired, my voice was shot. And because if you watch the very first season of American Ninja Warrior, I'm like, coming up next on American Ninja Warrior. It's like all sing-songy.
I've been watching the show ever since it started. Just this. I've been watching, a big fan of the show. I've been training to be on the show. I never made the cut. I'm really mad about it, but we'll talk about that later off camera. But congratulations on how many seasons has it been?
This is season 12, and we've done a couple spin-off shows with Ninja Junior, Ninja versus Ninja. It's been a home run. Now, such a ride.
I have to work with Dan's a doctor too. He's a psychologist, and he analyzes me every day. But you're a doctor also. Remind the audience.
What do you mean by that, Ross?
About you quitting medicine and becoming a stand-up.
Yeah, Dan, I can't imagine your story, but I will tell you. Yeah, so I went to medical school. I got my MD. I was practicing medicine in Denver.
Princeton, remember Princeton?
Yeah, Princeton undergrad. I went to Columbia Med School. So on paper, I'm amazing. I'm very, very educated. But I realized as I was doing medicine, I realized my heart wasn't in it, and it's not a job. It's a calling, and I felt awful because patients' lives are in your hands, and I wanted to go home and play Goldeneye or go snowboarding. I was doing anything to get out of the hospital. And so I decided to take a year off. And it wasn't as though I said, I'm going to become a stand-up comedy legend. It was just, I have to do something completely different than anything I've done growing up. Because growing up, it was just school and sports, and that was it. So I'd done stand-up a couple times. I thought, I'll move out to LA. I'll do stand-up for a year. I'll grow up. I'll come back to medicine as an adult. Instead, I fell in love. I fell in love with being on stage, having an audience. I started doing commercials. It was everything fell into place, and I was like, I am never going back to a hospital again unless it's on a gurney. And I never looked back, and it's been the best change. I'm so glad I made it.
No, I mean, I actually worked with you on. I worked with on Last Comic Standing. Remember? And and actually saw,
I thought literally I go through medical school. I got about 5 minutes of material on it, and I did it for the judges. I think it was Angela Kinsey, and she just went, not that original. I'm like, what are you talking about? Dr. Ken hasn't
Not
even hit
original.
yet. Not that original.
I mean, you went to
and
Princeton,
you
Columbia,
actually played
left.
baseball.
How's that not original?
And you actually played
Sure
baseball
thought it
at Princeton, correct? You
I
were an
did, yeah.
athlete.
4-year starter on the mighty Princeton Tigers baseball team, which is
Nice.
I say
What
it's like
position?
being. I was a pitcher. I got to pitch, and it was, it's like being on the chess team at University of Miami. It's nice, but it's not exactly what they're known for. But it was fun. Look, I loved it. We got to go to the College World Series regionals my sophomore year. I got to have a championship. We won the league. I was on the bump. I got to give the game ball to my dad. It was like, okay, that was it. My athletic career peaked. That was my Roy Hobbs knocking the ball into the light, saying, I see the hat over your shoulder, Dan. And so
Oh, yeah.
sports was fulfilled. I loved it. And then it was pretty clear I'd maxed out my talent. Time to move on.
That was a good spot. The New York Knights.
Oh,
You
yeah, I
probably
have
went
that hat too. I got the jersey. I went as Roy
I
Hobbs
had
for a
to have
couple. I went as Roy Hobbs for a couple Halloweens. I had like a Wonder Boy bat and everything. And people were like, who is this supposed to be? And then I'm like, well, it's a movie from the early 80s. It's
I know.
Robin.
Listen,
and you're
I'm
telling this to
I'm a
people who
similar
weren't
age
even
to you.
alive.
No, I'm a
Oh.
similar age to you. So I was talking to Ross about this. I was like, he was saying, oh, who should we get on? And I was, it's a sports show. I was like, we should get on Robert Redford. We should get on The Natural.
my God.
And listen, Ross laughed me out of the room. He was like, are you kidding? Now, I understand it's partly because like Robert Redford's off like fishing somewhere and he doesn't want to be on this show. But I was like, I got to get Roy Hobbs. I mean,
Yeah,
wouldn't
he played
if you were in my
baseball at
position?
CU. I think he was a baseball player at University of Colorado.
He was, but he, as you know, he doesn't do press for his own movies. I mean,
Yeah, I
he's
know.
not going to come on our show.
Well, get the bad boy,
Well, I
Bobby
mean, are you
Savoy. Get him on.
So Matt,
Yeah.
So Matt, do you play fantasy football? Are you a fan of?
I
fantasy
do.
Football?
You know, I've lost every year. I won one year,
Okay.
and since then, I have a team going this year. And the problem is, I always pick with my head, not my heart. Like I'm a Broncos. I grew up in Denver. The Broncos are my team, so I always choose a player because I want to root for the Broncos. I never want to choose even if I had a chance to pick Mahomes, I just couldn't because twice a year I'd be rooting against the Broncos are rooting against my fantasy team. So I took Drew Lock. He gets injured. Then I had Dak Prescott. And I was like, well, this is not going well.
Try
Try
being a Browns fan, man.
Oh,
hey,
my
listen,
God.
You and I share some history because, I mean, any Denver and Cleveland back in the day when we were growing up and watching The Natural.
The drive.
I mean, the drive.
And the
I was
fumble.
at the drive.
You're kidding.
I was at the drive. No.
Oh, my
I was.
God.
I was 13 years old. It's probably the last time I ever cried. After that, I was like, I'm going to be
Cleveland
a psychologist,
fans, that was just
and I'm never crying again.
And that was what was to come till Braun got the title. But I always felt bad because Cleveland just kept coming up short in every.
Yes.
I mean, from the Indians to the Cavs just being a joke, but the Browns would just tear the heart out of you. And sometimes because of the
it did.
Broncos.
Okay,
It is. But I now like the Broncos because when the Browns left, the only teams that cared at all were the Broncos and the Steelers.
Yeah.
Those teams understood us, and they were like, this is wrong.
This is
Totally
wrong.
wrong.
Yeah.
I do have Melvin Gordon in my fantasy team this year, Matt. Just so you know,
I just traded for it.
There we
I do
go.
have Melvin. So Matt, who
Yeah.
else do you tell us about your fantasy team? Who's on your team this year? Go.
Oh, I did pick up. I picked up Chase Claypool.
Did you
and then
start
I
him?
dropped
Did you start him?
Good one.
No, I dropped him before this week.
Oh, you idiot!
Because I was
Oh, my
making
God.
moves.
Hey,
I was making
do it.
moves. I was like, "Hey, Dak, man, I get hurt." So it was bad. I have Kelsey at tight end, who's
That's tight end.
yeah. It's just I played tight end in high school, so I understand these things.
I saw the picture on Instagram just. So you
Oh
know.
yeah, it's the shoulder pads added
I love
240
it.
pounds to me. It's been a wild year.
Who's your QB?
Well, right now, geez, I actually have to because
It was Drew Lock.
it was Drew Lock, then it was Dak. I had Dak Prescott. And now, so I'm scrambling now to try to pick up. I'll probably get Dalton just because that one, I don't think anyone else is going to pick him up except somebody who had Dak. And I think he's probably going to be asked to throw a ton. And I think they're going to be behind. So I think his numbers will be okay, even though he's got zero mobility. So it's early on, I've sensed this season was cursed, but to me, it's been such a wild NFL season watching Brady struggle, watching Breeze look horrible, and Justin Herbert look phenomenal. I felt like everything that had been the sure picks for kind of the past 10 years, some of those guys, they're just not. Although
I
Ben's
feel,
put it together.
I feel this year alone, the guys over 40 that are showing their age. Phillip Rivers is looking awful this year. Drew Brees throws like 10-yard passes, which I can throw. I mean, his passes have not been good. They've been all short passes. He's doing what Peyton Manning did. And Brady, he had a mind
aging.
His mind went crazy. He thought it was third down, and it was really fourth down, and he had no clue.
But I mean, from a fan point of view, like watching the Raiders beat the Chiefs, and have the AFC West be interesting. Because I mean, it feels like the AFC is going to be Mahomes for a while. Lamar Jackson and Baltimore. Like when they beat the Ravens that handily, I thought that was kind of a statement game for Mahomes. But to me, the NFL has I can't remember a season that's been more interesting. Granted, we have nothing else going on during the lockdown, but it's just been amazing that they're pulling it off. And to me, it's been the sport where you least notice the lack of fans. I think that the high angle shot, you don't see the empty stands other than like on bombs or extra points. And so it's felt the most normal watching football, and just sitting on the couch on Sunday to me has been one of the great victories of 2020, where it felt like, this is the way it used to be.
Yeah, it was like one
other
of the
than the
first
Broncos game getting
postponed
because of COVID.
And your best defensive players.
That's normal
too.
When Vaughn goes down from a ghost from a turf monster destroying his Achilles, that was a bad omen for the season, because I thought Locke was really promising at the end of the year last season, but I don't think he's ready to be an elite QB unless I think he can hold on to games if the defense is stifling. And then when we lost Vaughn, it felt like this season, and I think we're a tweener team where we'll probably win 2, maybe 3 games, so it's like, we're not going to get a great draft pick. It's just going to be a miserable season to sit through.
Wait, Matt, I want to ask you, because I think just from hearing you talk, you sound like you're like my fantasy doppelganger, because I'm always maybe look. I don't want to paint you into a.
Do you have Baker Mayfield on your team?
No, I don't. I don't.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. It's the opposite of you. It's like, I want to root for my guys, but I don't want to feel doubly bad. As a Browns fan, you don't need to double down on that. It's like, look, if Baker succeeds on somebody else's team, I love that. That's great. Yeah. But I'm not going to have him bust on my team, because that's so. I almost never have Browns. My joke used to be that people would be like, "Oh, you watch the Browns," and I was like, "I don't like semi-pro ball." That's not. But
so Matt, you've had NFL players on your show, on Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, we actually this year we had a return. It was the athlete who did the best out of all the NFL players, Cam Wembley. And this was when, just before he signed with the Titans, he came on our show. This was season 4. So 8 years ago, he came on and he completed
Wasn't he a Browns player?
He just signed with the Titans. And he hadn't signed, which is why he could compete, right? Because the contract would have prohibited it. But he was a free agent, and I think he just signed after the show. He completed all 15 obstacles on an extended course at 6'5", 255. And he came back this year and he fell early because of it was a fingertip obstacle where he's still 255. But the NFL players haven't done well. We had Sean Merriman on, lights out. And, as a Broncos fan, when he fell, I celebrated a little bit. We had Matt Williams on from the Broncos. None of the football guys have done well because, again, unless it's going to be someone like Tyreek Hill or someone who's lean, most of the guys with mass on our show, it is such a disadvantage if you're anywhere 2 bills or over. So the football players haven't done as well.
Yeah, I mean, I do watch the show. And I do notice, like, the professional athletes never do well. It's the people that train every day that have the obstacle course in their backyard.
Oh yeah,
and they're like, as you know, it's the same group that show up every year.
Oh my God!
And they're these guys are. I don't know if they do for work. I really don't know what their jobs
are.
A
lot of them have made Ninja their profession, either through gyms or through coaching.
I thought it was just a bunch of parents who were like dodging around all the toys.
No, this is.
I'm ready. Look, I'm ready to come on because I have an 11 and 7-year-old.
You don't want to go on the show.
It's a mess.
It is amazing to me when the athletes do well, who are professional, essentially professionals, where they run gyms, they can train all the time. You kind of expect it, but when you have someone on who has a job, who has a family, and still finds the time to train, because the reality is on this show, you won't do well if you don't put the time in on the obstacles, on the upper body strength training. And this is the stuff you don't do once a week. You're doing it 3 to 5 to sometimes 7 days a week. And so for these people to find that time, I always say this show, every athlete on there makes me feel lazier than the next.
You should do American Ninja Parent, and it would just be like totally out of shape people who didn't train at all.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm telling.
That would just be me going on the course.
Feel free to take that idea, and I'm happy to come on and do it for you.
I want SNL to do that with Bobby Moynihan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
American Ninja Parent.
So, Matt, I know you guys were filming during COVID. I mean,
we did. We actually pulled it off. So we were supposed to start.
Do that?
We were supposed to start on March 12th.
I remember.
Right out here at Universal Studios. And then, the 11th was the day March Madness got postponed or canceled, and NBA games started getting canceled. So we went that day. The next day we were going to start filming. At the beginning of the day, we were like, all systems are go. To about halfway through, they were like, okay, we're going to do it. We're not going to have an audience. And then they said, we may postpone a day. And then by the end of the day, they were like, hey, we're postponed.
They were like, we might live. We might live.
Yeah, this season may not happen. And so It took 4 months, though. We never stopped trying to figure out how we could put this show into production, because it's kind of a tentpole show for the summer for NBC. And so after 4 months, we finally were able to pull it off by going to St. Louis. We did it at the Dome at America Center, which is where the Rams used to play. And, it's an 80,000 seat dome. We didn't have a single person in the stands. But what we did with that space was we could build the course, and then we could have everyone, because the other problem is we have a big crew. And normally the crew operates in a control unit that's usually kind of the cargo part of a semi truck. But due to social distancing, we had to figure out a way to get them outdoors inside. Now, in a dome, there was enough space where we could have essentially half the floor was the obstacle course. The other half was our control team, was everybody out in this open air. And we were getting tested. Everyone was getting tested every 3 days. So it was a huge effort. We filmed over about 2 weeks, and we managed to do it. And it was, the whole time we're there, you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're waiting for something to happen and for it to fall apart. But by the end, when we pulled it off, there was just this euphoria. And the other thing was, even though it was empty, there was such an amazing energy because we'd all been locked up for 4 months. We were so excited to be out of the house and doing something we loved.
Okay, Matt, so that brings up that we wanted to have you on our segment later, Monster Madness. Can I explain to you briefly what it is? And
tell me.
You would join us? Okay, so this is like it's like a March Madness tournament. It took the place of that originally in March, and we started doing it, but we're doing it now. It's all heroes and villains matching up. We're going to decide the West bracket, who goes on to the Sweet 16.
Wait, let me think about it. I'm in!
He's in. American Ninja Warrior, Monday nights, NBC. Make sure you watch American Ninja Warrior.
Oh, you do it better than I do now, Ross.
Welcome to Take Your Pick. Okay, guys, we're going to see, first of all, how we did last week. Lauren's not with us, so we're just going to bring up her pick as we go. But who wants to go first and talk about how your picks went?
Ross the Boss will go first. I picked Robbie Anderson of the Carolina Panthers. He was unbelievable last week. He didn't have a touchdown, 112 yards. He was spectacular. He was great. I loved him. What a pick by Ross the Boss. Did anybody take Claypool? Anybody have Claypool? Anybody?
Unfortunately not.
Carpool?
Billy Gardell did.
Billy Gardell did.
Billy Gardell had him, but no one took him. I was going to take him too, but I chickened out. But I'm happy with Robbie Anderson.
Lauren picked the other Panthers receiver, but he was higher up. So we're going to talk about how we got to make some changes.
She picked DJ Moore. He had a touchdown, 96 yards. He was great too.
But he was like wide receiver 18 going in. So we and I don't mean anything against her, but we're going to change the rules. So we're only picking people that are well below. Actually, Andrew, why don't you explain who we're going to start picking? It's because it's the Fantasy Pros rankings.
Yeah. So we're going to use this based on what's called the expert consensus rankings from Fantasy Pros. So there's about 170 writers from across the industry, from places like ESPN and Yahoo and CBS, all the other major sites you could think of. I'm privileged enough to get to have my rankings factor in too, but it's a very small sliver of it. So those people.
Weren't you ranked 8 this week?
I was. Overall? Yeah, I had a nice week. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's impressive.
Thank you.
Yay, good job.
So anyway, every week, all those writers submit their rankings to Fantasy Pros. They crank it into the machine, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to pick a running back or receiver who's outside of the top 24 ranks for all those fantasy experts, or a quarterback or tight end that's outside the top 12. So what we're really doing, we're giving ourselves a bit of a challenge here. We're trying to beat the experts and pick someone that is kind of flying under the radar in the fantasy industry as a whole, who we think is going to have a great week.
All right, so I kind of cut us off. We let Ross say his pick. We said who Lauren picked. I don't even remember who everybody picked. Who'd you guys have?
I had Darius Slayton from the Giants. He had 8 receptions, 129 yards, so it's a pretty good day. But he didn't find the end zone, which isn't surprising because the Giants rarely find the end zone these days.
I went a little deeper with my pick. I went with Justin Jackson, who is in the 30s in terms of running backs, I think, in most of the rankings. And he actually had a great day. He got 94 yards, including 5 catches. He was one of those guys that probably helped me get to that 8th place rank you talked about last week. He might be jumping ahead of Joshua Kelly there in L.A. while Austin Eckler's out.
Nice work. And I wear the shame hat this week. But, I did have one of the deeper picks. And Andrew, you were peer pressured into Justin Jackson. So it worked out well for you. Sometimes peer pressure works out. Not usually, though.
You picked Eric Ebron. I don't know if you told people yet. I think it was a solid choice, and with tight ends, it's if
sometimes
they don't get the touchdown, they're probably going to disappoint, So no shame there.
I think he got like 57 yards or something. Well, it wasn't, it was a deeper pick. So let's get into our picks this week. Now, maybe somebody's gonna steal a pick like Kasey did like 3 times last week. So let. Are you gonna go first so you don't get stolen?
I can, sure, because last week I was gonna say Darius Slayton before Kasey beat me to the punch. So that was a great pick, Kasey. Well done.
You're welcome, then.
Yeah. Well, it would have worked out either way, I guess, as it turns out. But you never know. So I'm going to go first today. I'm going to go with someone I was hyping up in our waiver wire show, and that's McCole Hardman, the wide receiver with the Chiefs. My feeling is that he is a wide receiver 2 caliber player right now, but the industry doesn't have him that high. They have him in the 30s. But I think he can have a really big week this week with Sammy Watkins out with that hamstring injury. Hardman has been so explosive. He actually led all wide receivers in yards per catch last season, all receivers who caught at least 25 passes last year. And he's already got 8 touchdowns and just 39 catches over his career. So now that he's going to get a much bigger opportunity catching balls from Patrick Mahomes, I think he can really explode in the box score for his fantasy owners.
All right, Ross. Oh no, Casey's ready.
I am ready.
Hold the phone, Ross.
I'm gonna stick with a trend here that I started last week. I'm gonna take a wide receiver from an abysmal New York offense. I'm gonna take oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Joe Flacco's gonna throw to
Jeff Smith.
Jamison
Crowder.
No,
Jamison Crowder. I'm sorry.
I thought it was Ross's favorite player, Jeff Smith.
Flacco can't be that much of a downgrade from Sam Darnold, and somebody has to catch balls when he throws them. And Jamison Crowder seems to get 10, 11, 12 targets every week. And against Miami, I think he has a chance to catch at least 7 or 8 balls, maybe get up into the triple digits, and maybe even get into the end zone. So that's who I'm going with.
He's super underrated.
All right, Ross, you want to go last or me?
I'll go last. Go ahead, ladies first.
All right, you're gonna back clean up. So I was choosing between 2 different players, and I'm still on the fence. So I'm gonna talk this out with myself. You guys just talk amongst yourselves. I've got Myles Gaskin. He's ranked 25th.
That's a great pick. I like that one.
I think he's gonna have a big game, and because of the validation of Ross and my father-brother issues, I'm going to go with that because
he's playing the Jets. He's playing the Jets, which
is so funny.
I always
run defense.
I always pick on the Jets.
I was traumatized from before when Kasey stole my pick. So my backup 2 choices, if I couldn't get Hardman, were actually Jamison Crowder and Myles Gaskin. So well done, guys.
Woo!
Pressure's on Ross.
Let's
Who
see
you got?
if Ross takes the one guy I was going to say otherwise.
There's no way you're taking the guy. The guy I did a lot of research. I did a lot of mind searching. Soul searching. Ross the Boss came up with Monday night. The Dallas Cowboys are playing the Arizona Cardinals. It's going to be an epic offensive display. You'll see a lot of passing. Murray's going to go crazy. I was thinking maybe Chase Edmonds. I'm not taking Chase Edmonds. I'm going to take the number 2 receiver who I think is going to get a lot of action, and his name's Christian Kirk. You know where he went to school? Texas A&M. Christian's going to be a huge game. 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. Take that, Andrew.
Does it only count as a win if he gets exactly 106 yards?
Oh, it's
Yeah,
absolutely
I get
a
a
win
free. I get a
regardless.
free dinner. I get a free dinner.
Okay, a steak.
The one guy I was going to
There,
say
yeah.
otherwise, I want it on the record because if I'm wrong, it doesn't cost me much. But if I'm right, I get to brag. I think Deontay Johnson is going to have a big game for the Steelers. That's
gonna be. Well, we're gonna get to that game, right? Let's move to the
Yeah,
game.
We are going to get to that. In fact, why don't we start with that?
I
game?
was
We're-
3-0
we're
last
going-
week. Let's go.
Yeah, we're going Cleveland at Pittsburgh. These teams have one loss combined. It's partially the Browns. I'm not going to give away if the whole thing is. No, it's there. Okay. So what are you guys expecting from this epic game, Cleveland at Pittsburgh?
There's two things I'm interested in this game. One is, are the Browns for real? And that's, can they stick with the Steelers in Pittsburgh? Because that's a big challenge. And then from a fantasy perspective, you mentioned Deontay Johnson. I'm really interested to see how the targets break down between him, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Chase Claypool. They're all incredibly talented receivers, but there's only one football. And I don't think that they can all be, top 24 wide receivers every week. So we're going to have to see how this shakes out. And that's something to watch this week.
Yeah, and I worry about Baker Mayfield in this game. Pittsburgh's pass rush is pretty intense and pretty insane, and whether he's going to play well under pressure and make good choices to get the ball to his wideouts, or if it's going to be kind of Kareem Hunt and bust for the Browns to try to take the air out of the ball.
That's a good call. I mean, Baker Mayfield, he's got a lot of talent. I think if he's going to get to the next level, he's going to have to start playing really well against the good teams, and you see it over and over. He picks apart a bad team, but you get against a good team and he can start to make mistakes. And that
Okay, I love Pittsburgh in this game. They're giving away 3.5 points. You take Pittsburgh in this game.
Oh yeah,
they're going to cover. They're going to roll. You're going to see a lot of action.
A true Browns fan speaking.
Roethlisberger. I'm starting Roethlisberger in one of my leagues. I picked him over Gardner Minshew. I love Roethlisberger. I predict 4 touchdowns for Mr. Roethlisberger. 4. It's 4, Andrew. 4.
By the way,
are they all going to Claypool
Andrew
again?
Andrew, you picked up Gardner Minshew. I'm just going to keep calling him that. And you picked him up, and you're playing him against me. So
yeah,
that means the guys out there, everybody pick him up.
Well, he's got a great
throw 4
matchup.
touchdowns.
But I do love Pittsburgh. I think they'll roll. I think Schuster Smith's going to have a big game. He didn't do anything last week. He'll be back with vengeance. You'll see him with 100 yards. I don't know about Chase. We'll see what he does. I don't think he'll repeat the 4 touchdown deal, but if you have him, you should start him. We'll see what happens.
Let's move to Green Bay at Tampa Bay.
Ooh, I love this
wonder,
game. Ooh.
Did Tom Brady sign with Tampa Bay because they had his initials? I think it happened.
Well, it's
He was
Tampa
like, I play
Bay,
for
right?
TV.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay.
I mean,
okay, Ross, you loved it. Tell us.
I mean, it's a battle of the quarterbacks. These quarterbacks have only faced each other 3 times in their existence, playing in NFL. And Tom is.
And they're combined like 79 years old.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the difference is great. It's in Tampa Bay. Remember, it's not the friendly compounds of Lambeau Field. I still like Green Bay. I think they're a great team. They're one of the best teams in the NFL right now. They're undefeated. I'm betting Green Bay. But in this game, I feel it's going to be a lot of offense. You got to take if you have Aaron Jones, if anybody on Green Bay, Devontae Adams is back. You take anybody.
Don't forget Tanyan.
You take Tanyan. I love the
tight end.
Tanyan
has started to emerge.
I love him too.
He's facing you too this week, Dan.
The weather in Tampa Bay.
God. He killed me last time.
The weather in Tampa Bay is 75 degrees, perfect conditions. It's going to be a great game. Start who you have in both teams.
I'm quite a bit higher than the consensus on both of the Joneses in this game, the running backs, Aaron and Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones has actually had 200-yard games in a row. And this is going to be a high-scoring game. I agree with Ross.
I'm going to start calling him Shirani. You guys know that skit, right?
Oh, yeah.
We have no idea what you're talking about. We have no idea.
But anyway, yeah, it's going to be a high-scoring game. Lots of points. And Devontae Adams should be back for Rodgers. I do like Tanyan a lot more than the consensus as well. And Chris Godwin should even be back. There'll be offensive fireworks in this one.
The last time Tanyan played against me in a fantasy sports league was, I believe, 2 weeks. No, just 1 week ago, and he scored 3. No, it was 2 weeks ago.
Do you think Mike Evans can score a touchdown of longer than 1 yard this week? I think his last 3 touchdowns have been 1 yard receptions.
Yeah, that works out just fine for fantasy.
And I have a feeling that
he's a goal line back.
I have a feeling Gronk will score his first touchdown of the season this weekend. Also, that's coming from Ross the Boss.
All right, let's do Rams at San Francisco.
This is the Sunday night game. This is a big game. This is a division rival. I don't feel it's going to be a big offensive game. That's me. I feel it's going to
agree.
be like a 27-17 type game. It'll be some
If
scoring,
even.
but not high scoring.
That's even higher than I thought.
I don't like any of the running backs for the Rams. If you have one of them, you have to start him. I guess start Henderson.
I don't like anybody for the Rams, man. You know what?
I like Robert
Their
Woods.
whole team.
Sean,
I
no.
like the Patriots
Sean
running
McVay.
backs.
Sean McVay is the smartest guy in the room,
like-
but he has managed to sap the fantasy value of everyone on his team. We already knew about this 3-way committee at running back, but now he's totally phased Tyler Higbee out of the offense. The guy, you can't
They have
use
a
him
committee
anymore.
I dropped
And
him.
now, listen, Robert Woods.
I'm
has
dropping
not-
Sean McVay.
He got 5 targets last week. He's not seeing enough targets to like.
agree.
The fantasy consensus
Trade
has him
him.
inside the
Trade all
top
the
12. I
Rams.
barely have him in my top 24.
And the Niners are a complete disaster. Their passing game, you can't trust it at all. You don't know what's going on.
But
The
play
running
Raheem
game-
Mostert.
But Mostert's the only play. And
He's
of
so
course,
good.
you have Kittle, you start Kittle. You're not
Yeah,
crazy.
you have to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, overall, I don't like that game as a fantasy perspective
Yeah.
at all. On a betting perspective, I do like the Rams, though. You take the Rams.
How about Kansas City at Buffalo? These are two great teams coming off some tough losses.
What a game that's going to be. It's going to be really exciting. So much
fun to
scoring
watch.
is going to happen. Yeah. And, I already told you guys how I feel about McCall Hardman, so I won't go back there. But, I mean, you know what to do with Kansas City, at least until Le'Veon Bell comes into the fold, and then we got a headache in the backfield there. But with Buffalo, I'll be interested to see if Zach Moss can finally be active this week and what that means for Devin Singletary.
Yeah, I was going to say the Buffalo backfield is a mess. I don't think
It's
can
a
start
total
either
miss.
of them.
Singletary, you can't. I mean, you can't even trust him. He barely gets any yards. I mean, he may score a touchdown. The only one that has rushing yards is Allen. I mean, everybody else is.
I was going to
like-
say
he
he's the
takes
best,
all the goal line
best running back
carries.
they have.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel it's going to be high scoring. I guess you would have to start everybody that you usually start on both teams. I just don't know. Who's
Yeah,
gonna
but I
score
do
the
think there's
touchdowns
certain
in
guys
Buffalo.
that are a little bit low end. Like, I mean, I know you like McCall Hardman, but he is facing a tough defense. Even though
They're not a
Titans
tough
shredded him,
defense,
so who knows?
man. The Buffalo defense is so overrated. They've been shredded.
You think they're
I got an
overrated?
article on Fantasy
I agree.
Pros about this. They've been shredded by like 5 or 6 wide receivers already
All
this
right,
season.
this is part of what you learn.
Buffalo
as the
has a
season
great
goes on.
defensive line. Their defensive line is awesome. The problem is their DBs get burned. They're like, we call them toast because
Yeah, Tre'Davious White's been
they always
he's been
get
injured
burned.
this year, but yeah.
But like, I don't like Beasley as
burning.
much in this game because it's against the Chiefs. I just think it's going to be tougher. But
It's gonna be a fun game,
you never
though.
know. Arizona at Dallas is our last game.
Okay, as I mentioned,
you got to start everybody on Arizona.
Andy Dalton on Monday night is a disaster. Make sure you pick up Arizona's defense. You'll have a defensive touchdown, and Dalton will throw at least 3 interceptions. He's
And I just
cut
disagree,
Arizona's
Ross.
defense, so that's guaranteed.
I think
the
you're gonna
worst.
See, I
on
think
Monday
you're going to see
night.
Zeke Elliott get almost 30 carries. I think they're
Oh,
going
I
to go back
agree.
to this,
I'm
this
not
ground and
disagreeing.
pound, and Dalton might throw some underneath ones. I think all of their wide receivers might actually take a pretty big fantasy hit, at least in the short term, because of Dak's
Yeah,
injury.
I don't know
think-
about
I
all
love
of
it, Kasey. I
them.
agree
don't know
with you.
about all of
That's
them.
good.
I think the way I'm approaching Dallas right now is I still am very interested in using Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, but I feel like Dalton's not going to be able to support all the weapons that Dak Prescott did. So I'm much less excited about Michael Gallup. I'm much less excited about Dalton Schultz, the tight end. I just don't think that he can support all of those receiving options.
Dan, listen to me very carefully. Go to your bank tomorrow, take a second mortgage out on your house. Take the money and fly to Las Vegas, Nevada. Put all the money on Arizona because Arizona is going to destroy Dallas. They'll embarrass them on Monday night. And you'll see Jerry
right.
Jones crying after the game. It's going to be fantastic. I can't
It'll be
wait.
like wait.
Either he'll be
on a
crying or you'll
horse.
be crying, one or the other.
Guys, I'm sorry. I got to go. I got a plane to catch. I'll be back. All right, up next, we have Monster Madness. But first, it's Ross's Rant. Okay, Ross, you have this time for Ross's Rant 51 seconds. Go!
Hey, everybody, I'm Ross the Boss, and tonight's subject is show me the money. Ross, show me the money. What are you talking about? The average NFL life is 2.5 years. That's how many years the average NFL player plays. But what happened to Dak Prescott on Sunday is he's making $31 million a year. He's a franchise tag. He has a 1-year contract. His contract ends when the season ends, which means he's a free agent. He can go anywhere he wants. I don't know how many people want to sign a guy that just had a compound fracture in their ankle, especially with the draft coming in April. Everybody wants a young quarterback. He was offered $151 million to sign. He denied it because he thought he could get more money the following year. It just shows you you should take the money when they offer it. You never know what can happen in your NFL career. I hope he comes back. I like Dak Prescott, but I thought he made a huge mistake not taking the big contract and waiting out this year. I don't know if he'll ever play again for the Cowboys. I'm Ross the Boss. I love talking sports with you.
Welcome to Monster Madness. We have a very special treat in multiple ways. We have Matt Iseman of American Ninja Warrior as one of our judges. He's going to help us judge the West bracket. We're finally into the second round, so we're talking about Sweet 16 berths. This is some serious stuff.
Oh, this is exciting.
Not only that, but we've been trying to get in 8 of these matchups at a time, and it ends up being so rushed. Now we get to savor 4. This is going to be very exciting. So, Matt, I'm going to tell you, I'll tell us all, but Matt, you're going to start us off here. I don't mean to put you on the hot seat, but we've got the number 1 seed, Neo, against the number 9 seed, Magneto, who beat Optimus Prime because he controls metal. It was just no match whatsoever. So here's the thing. You're new to this, so you get to decide whatever parameters you want. You could sit back and listen, by the way. You don't have to jump right in.
No, of course I'm going to jump right in here. I've got strong opinions on this from the get-go. Now, one of the great things about Neo is we see in bullet time that this guy is remarkable at slowing things down in the Matrix. The question is, in what reality are we operating here? Because as we've seen with the X-Men, as we've seen with Magneto, bending the time-space continuum has been something that these villains are very comfortable with. Now, we know the Matrix exists on Earth, but it is a finite reality. What Magneto deals with is universal. It is something greater. So as powerful as Neo is, I believe Magneto, not alone, mind you, not alone perhaps, with the help of some of the other X-Men, I believe Magneto could pull off the upset here and bring Neo out of, because if you think of it, Neo exists in Zion in Earth, but his powers exist most powerfully within the computer. What are computers made of? Silicon, but a lot of metal. Magneto, I think, a lot of metal
also
to slow him down.
Listen, this just hit me. We have two people who can bend spoons. That is very weird. I did not see that coming.
Where's Uri Geller to call BS on this?
Yeah, exactly. All right, Ross, who do you got?
I got Magneto. I think Magneto's going to win. I think it's an upset. You can call it an upset right now. Magneto's my pick. I feel that it's an easy. I see second round knockout. Magneto's mine.
Wow. Oh, Kasey, it's up to me and you to even save Neo, the one.
Yeah, but
you go. Tell me.
I picked Neo to lose in the first round, if you remember correctly.
Oh no, then you don't get to go. No. I'm gonna. Okay, then I'm gonna start. Okay, I'm gonna tell you why Magneto's gonna win, because I'm not gonna let you do it. I'm gonna do it myself. Magneto is a Holocaust survivor.
Gosh darn it.
Magneto survived the Holocaust. It's really like you hit on it, Matt. Anybody who's in the Matrix is really not going to be a match. This was one of those 1 seeds where it's like, when maybe Minnesota is seeded 1, they had a great season. It's like, hey, listen, you had a great season, but you're going out in round 2. And I agree. It's Magneto. And I'm not, sorry, Kasey, I wouldn't let you do it. Go ahead. Whatever. Would you like to make your argument?
No, it's fine. I'm not bitter or petty. But I'm going to say, even in the Matrix, there's metal. Like, he fires bullets all the time. Magneto's just going to turn him around and shout him with him. So it's over.
Is this a sweep? Magneto in a sweep?
This is unbelievable, baby. This is unbelievable. The upset happened. The 9th seed took over.
Metal type of dandies. Okay, now we got Voltron versus Buffy. And by the way, I should clarify, this is Buffy from the show. It is not from the movie.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
No.
Galar.
Sarah Michelle Gellar. She was a 12 seed. She knocked off Agent Smith, another Matrix person, for the same reason, probably. And Voltron, we've made this point many times, but it really has to be said. This is basically a basketball bracket. Voltron is the only one with a starting 5. I'm just going to say it. They work well together. Now, Matt, I'm not going to put you right on the hot seat. Kasey, I totally screwed you on that and took the Magneto argument. So you go ahead and start with Voltron and Buffy.
Well, I don't think there's much of a matchup here. I think Voltron is just larger, more powerful, and just all around a better competitor than Buffy is. Buffy's tough, don't get me wrong, but she's never gone up against the power of 5 superheroes together destroying her. So I don't think there's much of a match here. I think Voltron wins it quick and easy.
Ross, no. I'm going to go with Matt. I'm sorry.
Go with Matt.
We need.
Yeah, listen, yeah. I loved Buffy, but correct me if I'm wrong. Voltron ain't the undead. He's not Nosferatu. Dracula ain't walking through that door, Buffy. And when a robot that's 100 feet tall, made up of 5 powerful robots, to become a super robot, Buffy, you're the one who's going into the ground.
Matt, that is a great forceful argument. We call that a Kevin Nealon argument because when Kevin was on here. When Kevin was on, everybody knows that's a Kevin Nealon argument. It's when you argue that Buffy can only slay vampires and not other things. And you hit right on it. Comics just they see this coming. So, Ross, I'm going to let you go now.
I had Buffy losing in the first round. I don't know how she got this far. She really has no superpowers. I don't know how she.
It was on a tiebreaker.
I mean, as much as I love the upsets, I would love to say Buffy, but I can't. I can't do it. I'm taking Voltron and the 5 friends. 5 friends.
Let me ask you this. Okay, I've already outvoted, so I'm going to lose even if I chose Buffy. But what do you guys even remember about Voltron? I don't really remember.
5 robots Voltron. Becoming one. I remember I had the toy, and it was the coolest toy to have.
You sounded like Schwarzenegger just there.
Yeah, it was 5 becoming one. It was kind of Conan the Barbarian.
He's
snakes coming together.
You weren't here when we came up with Conan the Barbarian got confused with Conan O'Brien and he became Conan O'Brien. That's another thing that happened in this tournament. So ridiculous. All right, so you remember 5 becoming 1.
That's what I remember.
Listen, it's very hard. Buffy's in a tough spot here. I agree. If even one of Voltron was a vampire, maybe I give her a chance. But I'm gonna have Voltron move on. But listen, we should say that Voltron is in deep doo-doo because who does he face
gets
next?
Magneto next round.
Magneto.
Oh, yeah.
Magneto drew Optimus Prime, Neo, and now Voltron. He's getting a lot of metal. I don't know. The fix is in. All right, we're going to move on. The 3 seed from Harry Potter. Are you familiar with Harry Potter, Matt?
Believe me, are we talking Voldemort here? He who should not be named?
We're talking. Well, listen, I wasn't going to say his name, but you went ahead and did it. I mean, you invoked him. Yes, we're talking Voldemort, and Voldemort. Kasey, I want you to say.
You're doing this to me again?
Yeah, of course you have to. Matt, you have to hear Kasey try to pronounce this name. Okay, from Game of Thrones, the mother of dragons,
Daenerys Targaryen.
He butchers it every time.
Yes,
I started announcing it and I was like, no, Kasey has to say this. So we've got the mother of dragons who was, what seed was she? She was an 11 seed. And you know what? She beat Dracula. Buffy should have been matched up with Dracula, clearly. Although that wouldn't have been fair to him. So we've got Daenerys Targaryen. I hate to pronounce it because then Kasey starts to remember what it is.
Daenerys Targaryen.
Are you a Game of Thrones fan?
No, not a huge one, but did she made it through, right? At the end? Or did she get taken out?
No. We're giving it
spoiler alert.
Well, spoiler alert, Voldemort doesn't make it out of Harry Potter either.
It's been 2 years. It's been 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been on.
It's been 2 years. I mean,
Are you asking me to choose because I've got a pretty good rationale for this one?
I do
Go ahead.
I'm going to ask you to choose, but I'm going to say spoiler alert, Woodrow Wilson is dead. All right. Go ahead.
Look. Her greatest power is to command the Legion of Dragons, but dragons exist within Harry Potter. And Voldemort is the most powerful wizard. Dragons cannot defeat Voldemort. They would be his steed. He would turn them against Daenerys because he is the ultimate dark wizard. The only thing that can defeat him is Harry Potter's mother's love. And I don't think Daenerys has that with her. I'm taking Voldemort. I'm taking the dark wizard. We're seeing the dark mark. Dark Knight coming for Daenerys Teagarden.
I love that argument, and I want to point out that
did he call her Daenerys
Targaryen?
Yeah, I did. I was not a Game of Thrones guy.
I appreciate that, Matt. Thank you.
Danny Terrio.
Yeah,
I love them on solid gold.
If Danny T had Harry Potter's mother's love, that kind of makes this not a family
if
show.
she did,
I'm just going to say that.
That would be it. I just don't see that happening.
All right. And so, Ross, who you got? You weren't a big Voldemort fan, as far as I remember.
Well, the thing is, it's a children's book versus Game of Thrones. That's how I'm looking at it. It's like a children's fable, let's say, against one of the biggest shows ever on cable television, which is Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it's like she's facing like Old Man Withers from a Scooby-Doo episode.
So I'm taking the dragon lady. I'm taking the lady who controls the dragons. I feel the upset. I just feel these dragons are trained so well that the powers of the sorcerer of this powerful wizard cannot defeat the dragon. I feel these dragons are under her spell, and I think she can do it. I'm going for the upset. Let's see what happens.
All right, I'm going to disagree with you, Ross. I think, look, if you
idiot.
remember with Voldemort, and I know you're saying it's a children's book, it shouldn't compete with the Game of
Children's
Thrones.
book. It's a fable. It's not even.
But most of these characters are children's superheroes and villains from our own youth. So that can't be a reason to rule somebody out or rule somebody in. Besides the fact
these people are all real.
He's got like 7 Horcruxes that the dragons would also have to find and kill to win the battle. You just can't kill them that way.
Who are these people?
And so Voldemort would be able to get to her much before the dragons could get to all or any of his Horcruxes. So I don't think it's much of a matchup. I think one Avada Kedavra and it's over.
Boom! An unforgivable curse, just like that.
Well, we got one more. I'm sure my man Dan's going to see my side. Do it, Dan.
Dan's a Potter guy.
I am a Harry Potter guy, but I'm also a Game of Thrones guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to meditate here for like a couple minutes. You guys just hang out.
Couple minutes, good.
I'll be back.
Have Lauren decide the winner.
No. I will assume my rightful place at the throne. Listen, I don't think you can beat Voldemort so easily.
You can't be serious.
But here's
I'm
the
doing
thing.
John McEnroe now. Watch. You can't be serious.
You always do that. And you know what? Ross always is a contrarian. You almost know who's going to lose when Ross says they're going to win. I mean, I'm sorry, Ross, but it's kind of true. You're like, I'm going for Conan the Barbarian against Superman. Did you do that?
No.
Did you actually do that? No, not that one.
I wouldn't go against Superman quite yet.
All right, not yet. But you were very angry about Frankenstein's monster over Chewbacca. He said Chewbacca has the nicest hair. It wouldn't happen. So I think that Voldemort is... I feel we shouldn't be saying his name. We need to move on because I can't keep saying his name. But Voldemort is going to take out the Mother of Dragons. I think that Matt made the key argument. Her dragons, Hagrid is going to like run off with her dragons, and she won't even have her dragons.
Fine.
So I'm going to say, listen, does she have Harry Potter's mother's love or not? I think
she could. She could have it.
Matt,
you never know.
Here would be my one counter argument against it.
It's
saying that look, Lily Potter saved Harry with her love. It was the love of a mother. Now Daenerys is the mother of dragons. By loving her dragons, if she loves them, they would be immune to any curse from Voldemort. And
but
her
he doesn't have
Legion
to kill
of
the
dragons could
he
be
doesn't
protected.
Have to kill the dragons. He has to kill
Matt,
her.
we need
Lily
to have you on
Potter
more.
I'm just saying this was a counter argument, Casey. I'm just presenting I'm
Matt's
playing
right.
devil's
I'm telling you, it's
advocate.
terrible.
That's right, and she does love those dragons like kids. You know that.
Yeah, Ross is trying to sway, but I'm sorry.
I don't even know
She
her
loves
name.
those dragons.
How could I say I know
He
how
who
much she
should-
loves her dragons?
Yeah, see, Kasey can't even argue. I mean, I hate to have her go out because Kasey now can't pronounce it. Well, he couldn't pronounce it in the first place.
He would just
We can call her he who beat Daenerys Targaryen.
Okay, now we're on to some characters that Kasey can pronounce. Matt, I think you'll enjoy this as a child of the 80s. We have the 10 seed Gozer from Ghostbusters.
Those are the Gozerian.
Against
Yes.
Gozer the Gozerian against the 2 seed Zeus. The Greek and Ross. Well, let's let you go first. You're gonna pick something that's gonna end in "you can't be serious." But go ahead.
I'm taking. Listen, I'm a Greek. I'm big on Greek mythology. Zeus is the god of all gods. Correct? Is that the title?
That's correct.
I'm taking Zeus. I mean, his powers were very powerful. I remember all the powers he had, and he
Expert
can do
analysis.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he can change weather. He can do everything. So I'm taking Zeus. I think Zeus will be in the final 4. That's my prediction. I don't see him losing to a character in a comedy. but I could be wrong. But again, let's see what everybody else says. But I'm taking Zeus.
He chooses Greek tragedy over comedies. All right.
Yep.
Matt, who you got?
Gozer the Gozerian is a supremely powerful being that inhabits all that is evil. But we saw him be defeated by the proton packs, by crossing the streams, reversing all matter. We had a good, important safety tip out of Egon, but they crossed the streams to take him out. Who is Zeus, the god of lightning? What is lightning if not essentially a proton pack? I believe Zeus is going to have a marshmallow roast and be serving up s'mores on Fifth Avenue, Gozerian style. I take Zeus.
I love his arguments.
Yeah, Matt makes the best arguments. Kasey, you're next. I'll let you go since I stole your Magneto.
You did, and I'm taking Zeus as well. I took Gozer in the first round because I didn't think Loki was god enough to take him. But certainly Zeus being the god of all gods, the most powerful of the gods in Greek mythology, I don't think Gozer stands a chance because essentially he turns into whatever you fear or whatever you think of, and I don't think Zeus fears anything. So what could Gozer create?
We're about to find out. We're about to find out because
that Zeus would lose to.
Well, listen, if Zeus is going to be afraid of somebody, it's going to be Voldemort. That guy is. I mean,
yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Zeus versus Voldemort. Look, this is what this tournament was created for. Zeus against Voldemort. There's so many people who have wanted to imagine that, and by so many, I mean at least one, me. Matt, thank you for joining us.
What a blast, guys!
Segment.
I can't wait to see who takes home the title in the Heroes Villains Monster Madness bracket.
I want you to come back. Maybe you'll come back later in the tournament.
I would absolutely. I love it. I love it.
And,
I love this tournament.
On the next episode, we're gonna name something a Matt Iseman argument. I know.
I like it. I'll be up there with Kevin Nealon.
That's right. Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Hey, thanks, guys. Had a blast.
Thanks, Matt.
What a great interview we had with Matt Iseman today. He was fantastic. American Ninja Warrior. He actually knew all the Monster Madness people. He was great. His opinions I loved. I can't wait to have him back.
I can't wait to have him back and hear more of his Monster Madness arguments.
I know we have some great stuff happening. Dan, tell us what's going on.
On the next episode, we have more First and 10, all the picks for the upcoming week, more surprise guests, and round 2 of Monster Madness continues.
Wait, surprise guests. I heard there's a rumor going around that Howie Mandel is going to be interviewed next week by us. Is that true?
The rumors are true. Are true.
Well, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell, rock the bell like LL Cool J says for notifications. If you don't, the boss is coming for you.
Until next week, stay hungry, my friends. This has been MFSN's The Hub.
And I'm Ross the Boss, and I love talking fancy sports with you, cowboy.
Lying with a blanket over my head, she asked if she could see who was under the blanket with me. I said, you don't want to find. It is Hideki Matsui